Hello, my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts. Well, guys, we have the UK to unleash Internet Safety Czar on Google, Facebook, and Twitter. Social media companies will face huge fines if they fail to live up to their quote-unquote duty of care to Internet users. So how do you guys feel about this? Does this feel good to you? Does this feel ominous to you? The UK government's taken a hard line when it comes to online safety, moving to establish what it says is the world's first independent regulator to keep social media companies in check. Companies that fail to live up to requirements will face huge fines, and senior directors who are proven to have been negligent will be held personally liable. They may also find access to their sites blocked. So here is what they're going to be tackling as far as the problems, quote unquote. Inciting violence and spreading violent content, including terrorist content, encouraging self-harm or suicide, the spread of disinformation and fake news, cyberbullying, children accessing inappropriate material, and child exploitation and abuse content. So I don't think there's hardly anybody that would have a problem with some of these things. And the problem lies in who decides what is what. And really, for me, the one that sticks out the most is the spread of disinformation and fake news, because I feel like the rest of it is not really what they're concerned about at the highest levels. The concern is controlling information, controlling what people hear, and controlling what people are able to say. So, according to the official lines of thought, there is no such thing as quote-unquote chemtrails, for instance. That's a conspiracy theory and disinformation. That's fake news. Just as the same thing with the thought of, the thought that 9/11 could be an inside job. So, who is to say that in the future we won't be able to talk about that at all? We won't be able to say what we feel and think along those lines with each other. That's a big problem. But we know it's coming. We know it's coming. And we can see it's coming. So, of course, we don't want anybody inciting violence, spreading violent content, encouraging self-harm or suicide for anybody. And, cyberbullying is never good, but isn't this a form of cyberbullying? If you're going to set up a czar and they're going to say what you can and cannot even say on the internet or watch on the internet, for one, it's not going to work. There's going to be underground societies, cliques, different groups that come together. You're going to have your anonymouses, and as we keep sliding more and more towards this 1984 Orwellian society, there's going to be more and more resistance. But this is what they're doing, and we could see what the truth is, because what they'll do, just like whenever they want to pass a bill, and the House or the Senate, they wait till the last minute. They just basically go nowhere, argue, and then all of a sudden, at the last minute, when nobody's around, because they're all tired of, it getting nowhere, they come to an agreement with some stuff in there that basically takes away civil liberties. And we're not going to be able to make videos like this in the future. Not even for too much longer. I really, really don't think so. We've already seen the pushback. So, nobody wants to see, nobody with a heart wants to see child exploitation or abuse or any of these things. But the one thing that's stuck in here, the spread of disinformation and fake news. This is the big thing. This is basically that key that you're giving them. Well, that we're not even giving it to them, they're taking it. This is the key that allows them to switch off any conversation on anything that they don't want us to talk about. Because you're not going to be allowed to. So, I mean, it could be anything from, Mark Zuckerberg's ties to the word that begins with an I and ends with an I, and also, say, George Soros and all these things. Yeah, and there's all these different things. And yeah, a lot of them may be BS. And then most of the time, though, we find out there's a basis in truth for all these little quote unquote conspiracy theories. And I don't even put as a keyword conspiracy in anymore because, that could trigger the video to not be monetized. And so, the slow starvation that's going on right now, which is speeding up to all the truther channels, this will do away with it. And there's no more communication. It's not even losing free speech because we are losing that. But there's not going to be any communication at all as far as certain topics that they don't want discussed. So what are we to do about this? Because this is, in my opinion, the thing that's going on fast forward. And, we have earth changes. We could see that. And we see all the different things that we're facing. But this and the whole political end of it, along with the apparent push for World War III that they seem to be doing alongside of this, these are the things that really concern me more than the earthquakes, the tidal waves, than all the natural disasters. Because, I feel like this is the true agenda that we're seeing here. Governments are rushing to regulate the internet. Excuse me, guys. Users could end up paying the price and paying fines and being thrown in jail even. So this is part of it. This is part of the biggest part of this. It's all about control. Control the narrative, control the dialogue, and this is what's going on. It's so sad to see. You got Facebook's Zuckerberg regulate these 4 areas of the internet. And so he's calling for regulation, terrorist propaganda, hate speech, similar posting should be regulated. So, what do you call hate speech? If I say, stop those damn planes from flying overhead and blocking out the sun, is that hate speech? Is that something that can be construed as hate speech? Is that something that they will get rid of? I mean, I've had a Facebook account just totally deleted on me, and it was one that was tied to my business, and unfortunately I had put so much stock in it and had like over 1,000 recommendations about my personal business, and they just wiped it off one day, and there's no human you could talk to. No human you could talk to. We need to come up with alternatives, and alternatives are what we need. I mean, this is part of the control grid that we see. And then, at the same time, we see that our info is out there for everybody. Third parties left 540 million Facebook records on the public internet. Now, the exposures didn't come from Facebook itself, but do show how data generated by one company can end up exposed thanks to another service. And so can your DNA if you've ever done, 23andMe or Ancestry.com, things like that. There's companies that are right out there that are, Facebook's handing your info to, as well as these other companies that we were just talking about, handing your DNA info to as well. And a lot of those are pharmaceutical companies. Now, are they looking at our data in order to make the perfect medicine, or are they looking at our data in order to make more money? And another scandal, Facebook user data reportedly at risk yet again. And then we go to Europe's copyright overhaul, which will be coming to the US, and what it means for YouTube, Facebook, and the way you use the internet. It means it's coming to an end. And the way that so many, perhaps the big majority of YouTube channels operate is coming to an end. And, we're being forced to adapt. And, we're going to have to adapt until it's just not feasible anymore, and the channels are gone, but this is where we're heading. And so the way that you're used to seeing things done is going to change. And really, we're kissing goodbye to our free speech. There's really no other way around it. That's what all this is, basically coming to. It's the end of free speech as we know it, which is just around the corner and is already being implemented. European Parliament recently passed sweeping changes to the EU's almost 2 decades old copyright rules. The biggest source of worry for people and companies protesting the measures is a section called Article 13. And so, this was talking about the bots. There's bots all throughout. And you know what? There's disinfo bots, and there's also, when you see some comments come up, on videos in YouTube, there's many of us that are totally convinced that some of the ones that come in with some negative comments are actually bots. They're not even humans, because you go check them and there's no videos there. The thing was just set up recently. No playlist, no channels, nothing like that. They just come in, make a negative comment, and they're gone. But what they do is they steer the attention away from the subject that's being discussed. So, for instance, we've had, as well as so many other channels have had, sound issues. And, I've seen dozens of truther channels have sound issues. It's one of the things they do. Same thing with the microphones being turned off. And you know what? Do you really think you could stop a company that has billions of dollars worth of resources from hacking your computer? It isn't going to happen. So, put on your spyware, or, if you clean out your cache, it'll be fine. No, get this through your head. This is an attack on free speech. That's what this is. And you're not stopping them in that way unless you are a big computer hacker yourself. Then perhaps. But if you're the average person just trying to get some information out, you're not going to stop them. And so, the first comments, for instance, you'll see so many comments where people are saying, these bots are saying, I can't listen because of the sound. And what they're doing is they're trying to get people to not listen because of the problem they caused. So they're diverting attention. They don't want you looking at the fact that, whatever it is being talked about, whether it's, losing your First Amendment rights in the U.S., free speech, or perhaps it's, healthy or alternatives to a diet full of pharmaceuticals. Why don't you try this herb? Why don't you try a little more exercise? Why don't you try meditation and yoga? Why don't you try this and that? Because, as we know, the lobbyists and the big corporations control the narrative totally. So that's exactly what they do. I can't listen to you because the sound is so bad. It's echoing. So that way, maybe you lose 5 or 10% of people that just click off. Hey, it's working. That's what they want. That's what they're doing. And that's part of the bigger process that we're seeing. So, my friends, what do you think of all this? As always, like, share, subscribe. Looking forward to your comments. God bless and namaste.